I'm going to break the wheel.
Oh, me too.
Ultra Ninja JK, dupla jinxa, bota chakra em cada linha de faca. Faz macramé no micado, paz, espadas por frases. Sintático, repara no que digo, é paradigmático. Não tenho paralelo, sou para lá de mágico. Sabes como rolo, martelo pneumático. Técnica secreta do monstro roxo. Estamos a meter-nos no dojo, estamos a manter combos no jogo. Só com uma espada nos tojos. Plano picado, não sabes de onde esta ave vem. Nenhum radar pode detectar onde está a nave, mãe, tu sabes bem. Somos a clique, somos o clã. É Monster Jinx cabrão, respeito ao vais comer tartan. Na terra do nunca não digo banzai. Vivo na espunca e tenho um bonsai. Ninja que é ninja, ninja, frotas imperiais. E bate mal, logo bate mais. A minha crew não sem espelhos. Na rua, dragão azul, dragão vermelho. Sento o silêncio. Verso shinobi, nunca me canso. Sou de Nairobi, ágil como um ninja. Rápido como um ninja, letal como um ninja. Brutal como um ninja, fatal como um ninja. Forte como um ninja, secreto como um ninja. Devo mesmo ser um ninja.
Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus ninjas, 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 ninjas? Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus ninjas, 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 ninjas?
And we are live, and a good evening to everyone out there, and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Collaborations on the Westerosi Ninja channel. I'm your host, as usual, the Westerosi Ninja, and joining me as always is Dawg from the Dawg Show. And tonight we will be going through our top 5 favorite Quentin Tarantino. That's right, guys. Quentin Tarantino movies of all time. Man, I'm hyped for this. So what's going on with you, Dawg? How are you feeling?
I'm stoked for this one, Milt. Yeah, I've been worked on the slides earlier today, and yeah, it just got me back into that feel of the Quentin Tarantino films. And I still remember the first time I was in the theater seeing Reservoir Dogs when it came out to the theater in Orlando, Florida, and yeah, it was just bringing me back. You know, going through making the slides and stuff, and I'm pretty stoked. One of my favorite directors, for sure, and some of my favorite characters. I think we were originally thinking about doing like a favorite characters, but there's just way too many characters,
Yeah.
to put it in 5. And it's just like, hey, let's just talk about the films again, and we can talk about the characters. So, hello everyone, and
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, and a great thing about Quentin Tarantino movies is that the most memorable characters are ones that you only see on screen for like maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and that's it, tops. And a lot of my favorite characters were those kind of characters. Of course, he has some really really good main characters and classic supporting characters as well. But yeah, I mean there was like tens of like these bit characters that just make his movies so special. So man, I mean, I think we should get going on this, Dawg. What do you think?
I think so too.
Yeah. Before we get started, though, I just want to say hi to everybody out there in the chat. We have Linda R, we have Bubba Husky, we have the Granite Person, and we got Kev, aka Bridge 4, joining. So thanks a lot, guys, for coming out right now, and hope you all enjoy this. So, Dawg, so this is a Westerosi Ninja stream. So what does that mean for the next couple of slides?
Oh, folks, we're going to get some education on this channel right here with the Master of Trivia, of course, right? So we're going to get some trivia. We're going to get some numbers, things of that nature. Something that you can school your friends with.
Exactly. And really impress girls on your first dates with them. And firstly, let's talk about Quentin Tarantino in general and what makes him so cool. So basically, he was born in March 27th, 1963 in Knoxville, Tennessee, of all places. Now, I pictured him as a New Yorker, but evidently he's from Tennessee. So he's officially directed, produced, and or written 19 feature films, okay? So his latest being Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that just came out a couple weeks ago. I haven't seen it yet, but Dawg has, and once I see it, we'll probably do a stream about it, right? We were talking about that earlier. Is that right, Dawg?
Absolutely. I'm definitely down for that, Milt.
Yeah. And he has acted in addition to producing, writing, and directing. He's also a accomplished actor in 28 feature films. Okay, and his style is great. I mean, I love his style. He's my favorite director, and because he is, in my opinion, the unrivaled master of mixing like dark plots with self-indulgent humor, right? Without making things too over the top or offending anyone. Kinda. In some
Kind
cases, he does offend a lot of people, but that's okay. So, what do you think? Do you agree with that assessment of his style, Doug?
Right, I do. I do agree with that assessment. There's always like some real personal plot. Real, I mean, really, but it's masked by, hey, we got kung fu masters all of a sudden now, right? Or we're in this western theme now, right? Or we're in with a bunch of gangsters over here, and just absolute craziness is masked. But underneath it all, usually there's something that's just like something that can be deep and personal to the viewer, right? Just our own human experiences that we go through, but then they're just some outlandish stuff. I just wanted to mention real quickly the, when he first, just from my own research was, when he wanted to get into writing, he started acting, right? He started learning how to act, going to acting school and things of that nature. He's mentioned that it really helped him be able to work with his actors, right? Especially when he first started with Reservoir Dogs, and
Mm-hmm.
he had all these big name actors that probably knew more than him about directing at times, right? But he really could work well with the actors. That really, from his experience from learning how to act.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and the
that
cool thing
was
about his
one of his
movies,
tips.
and the cool thing about his movies also is that he tends to just have a certain set of cast, of actors and actresses that he uses for all his movies. Have you noticed that? So and these actors and actresses are like, they're great, because they fit his style of movies and writing and stories so well. Uma Thurman, right? Tim Roth, Michael Madsen's, those kind of actors and actresses. I mean, they're everywhere. Kurt Russell, right? I mean, they're
Yeah,
everywhere in his movies. Steve Buscemi, back in the day.
I mean, he consistently has great cast
Yeah,
for every one of his movies. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody could ever, say that this was cast horribly,
yeah,
right? Even some of his backups have totally worked too, right? So, like, David Carradine, I think originally he wanted Warren Beatty to play the part of Bill, right?
yeah,
And they kind of, Warren Beatty was like, no, you should have David Carradine, and all of a sudden that's kind of how that got started. We'll talk maybe a little more about that later,
yeah.
but yeah, it's great because they'll bring back some of the old actors you might have forgotten, or
Hmm.
some even the ones that are recent. I mean, and then they just all work so well together.
Yeah, man, Warren Beatty would not have made a good Bill. I mean, David Carradine was perfect for that. I mean, if Warren Beatty, in fact, actually did suggest David Carradine for that, I mean, he should get like a medal because, I mean, David
Right?
Carradine was Bill. I mean, he was Kwai Chan Kane, right, in Kung Fu, in the 70s. I mean, he fit the part perfectly, for that kind of for that kind of character. So, man, Warren Beatty, that would been kind
That
of
would have
weird.
that blew my mind as well, Mill.
Yeah, and there you have it, Mr. Brown, man, and facts about Mr. Brown. So trivia time, guys. It's trivia time here. So I want to ask you guys out there, and Dog as well, what Quentin Tarantino movies has Michael Madsen appeared in, otherwise known as Mr. Blonde?
Well, Reservoir Dogs for sure. The Hateful Eight,
Mm-hmm.
Kill Bill Volume 2, Kill Bill Volume 1 also.
Yep. Uh-huh. Those are separate movies, guys. Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 have to be done separately.
I'm trying to think if he actually makes I want to say he makes an appearance in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Anything else, Doug?
And I am kind of stumped right now, thinking of another one. I'm gonna kick myself. Yeah, I can't think of another one right now off the top of my head.
Well, you can't think of one on top of your head because you're absolutely correct.
Wow.
So there you have it. So yeah, Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, The Hateful Eight, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He actually makes it in there. So those are the 5 movies that Michael Madsen has appeared in. So, all right, yeah. So good stuff, man. Good stuff. You did. You are a proven now Quentin Tarantino fan for getting that thing right. So congratulations, Doug, for that. Beast mode, right? Beast mode.
Beast mode, buddy. Did it. Did it
So-
live too. That's what was great.
Yeah, that was awesome. Totally unscripted, guys. Totally unscripted in that trivia question. Okay. So hey, so I think we're about ready now for our list, right? So again, we have our top 5s, but for this stream, we will be including an honorable mention because there's just so many good movies that Quentin Tarantino actually was involved in. So, Dawg, since you are the visiting team, you get to start with your honorable mention, and it is.
And folks, yep, my honorable mention here tonight is True Romance, which Quentin Tarantino is actually credited as for doing the screenplay along with Roger Avery. Roger Avery also helped him with Pulp Fiction. There was another one he helped him with also in there, but he helped him with Pulp Fiction. He also did another recent film too that folks might have remembered, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. My apologies there. That one just kind of went away, but it scored 92% right now, or it's holding 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was released on September 10th, 1993. And this was a film that when it was first, the trailer came out and things of that nature, I didn't want to see it. And I was kind of like most Christian Slater films I'd liked, right? Like I liked Pump Up the Volume, I think it was, and Heathers.
Yeah, Heathers is good. Yeah.
Cuffs, even, right? I mean, there's a few, a lot of Christian Slater films that I had liked in the past, but when the trailer came out and things of that nature, and then once you saw the title True Romance, I was going, no, I don't think that's for Dawg right now. And there was a time when we were out to sea. I was on an aircraft carrier, and we had Navy TV, right? And it just so happened that they played this film for us, and my friend was like, "You've got to watch this movie." And I'm going, "I don't know if I want to watch this." He's like, "You've got to watch this. It's just amazing, right?" And I'm sitting there reading through the credits, and I'm going, "Oh my gosh, there's so many stars in this. Dennis Hopper's in this, right? Gary Oldman's in it. James Gandolfini's in it. Brad Pitt. Michael Rappaport is in it, Patricia Arquette, right? I mean, and this is just an absolutely amazing film, and we can kind of see, Reservoir Dogs came out a year prior to this, but there's still, we can definitely see that, there's definitely the Quentin Tarantino feel to this film, right? There's something deep and personal that's going on, right? There's a romance that happens. There's a marriage kind of thing, right? There's a personal issue that happens, right? And all of a sudden now we have Christian Slater's character, pardon me.
Clarence.
Yeah, Clarence, right?
Mm-hmm.
He talks to Elvis, right? Kind of like the Son of Sam guy, right? I mean, it's just, but now he has Elvis as opposed to the neighbor's dog or something, right? But he talks to Elvis. Elvis tells him, hey, can you live with yourself right now? For letting that guy breathe and all that stuff. You should take care of him and take him out and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, Elvis, I should take care of business, and take out Drexel, right? And then now we see Gary Oldman, and Gary Oldman is amazing, folks. He's one of the greatest actors of all time. Mm-hmm. And he puts on this performance as Drexel, this pimp, right? And it's just if you don't even watch this film, you might want to just check out the Drexel scene just to watch Gary Oldman. Just it's just absolutely brilliant, that scene, right? We even had Bronson Pinchot, I think his name was, from Perfect Strangers, right? Balcony
Good, Perfect Strangers callback there. That's awesome.
yeah, he had all the powder on his face there,
Awesome.
and
Hey,
hello.
and don't forget, you also had a unknown Brad Pitt playing a stoner, right? In this
And
movie, playing a stoner roommate.
to this day, and not to give any spoilers, folks, but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I have seen it, and to me, it was other than him playing the stoner, Floyd. I think his name was Floyd in
Yeah, it
the
was Floyd.
right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Um, I mean, it's probably one of his best performances ever. I mean, he plays a stoner absolutely perfect. And but Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he's amazing in that though too. So I mean, there's a lot. He's done a lot of great things. But yeah, it was one of my favorite roles I've seen him in as Floyd, and also as the stuntman in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I forgot his name now too.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
starts with a C, but
Yeah, and this is a great
Cliff.
movie. I didn't see this movie live. Right? I saw it like on DVD, maybe like 10, 15 years ago. But this is a 1993 movie here, and yeah, the characters, right, were just like, like this was like, I think this was the second movie, right? His first movie was Reservoir Dogs, right? This is the second one that came out, like in
Right. And
'93.
this one he
This
didn't
93, right?
direct. Tony Scott directed
Yeah,
this one.
but he wrote it, right?
He was credited with the screenplay along with
Yeah,
Roger Avery.
yeah.
And I love this movie so much. I just had to, if I'm doing a Quentin Tarantino list, it's this
Hmm.
movie. I have to have it on my list.
Yeah. But in terms of the characters, you kind of get a glimpse early on about what he's all about, right?
Right.
Characters with names like Clarence and Alabama, right? And they just happen to meet and fall in love, like watching '70s kung fu movies. Hell, there's a lot of foreshadowing going on here, right, for later
And
films about what Quentin Tarantino's all about. You know?
right now, like especially like when they're watching the kung fu movies, and and they're watching. I think they're watching a Sonny Chiba movie, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
They're watching, and
yeah.
he starts telling her about
Hanzo.
Sonny Chiba, and it's foreshadowing. I think later, it's kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
funny that
yeah. So
he's
already,
actually working with Sonny Chiba and Kill Bill.
so you already know what this guy's all about, right? What his writing is all about. It's gonna focus on, some parts romance, but a lot of parts kung fu, and a lot of parts, guns, right? So, that's his thing, gratuitous violence and kung fu and really memorable characters like Floyd the Stoner. So you
Just
can't.
great,
Yeah.
colorful characters and like just powerful scenes.
Hmm.
The Christopher Walken
Hmm.
scene and Dennis Hopper scene is just amazing to watch that
Yeah.
one too. There's and Gary Oldman, of course, I'd mentioned before,
Yeah.
but yeah, I like you, Clarence. Always have,
Yep.
always will.
Yeah, and that final shootout, right, was spot on. That was so awesome and so well done. So yeah, great choice for honorable mention, True Romance. So if this is an honorable mention, then these other five that has is going to be really really good stuff. My honorable mention, okay, it may be controversial to a lot of people here, okay, because sometimes this is like their favorite, but my honorable mention has to be Kill Bill Volume One. Okay, and it was a great movie, right? This is your typical revenge samurai flick, right? Set in the 1990s and 2000s, as opposed to like like in the 17th or 16th century Japan, right? But it's totally revenge. It's totally a movie about revenge and kung fu and martial arts and swordplay, right? Again, intense, over the top action, right? This is Quentin Tarantino, right? Gratuitous violence, right? We know all this stuff, right? Blood splattering everywhere, limbs flying all over the place, right? The only issue I have with this, and the reason why, it's only an honorable mention, in my opinion, is that this isn't your typical movie in the sense that there's a lot of character development. In fact, there's probably zero character development in this movie because a lot of the character development happens in Volume 2, right? So, really the only character that's actually kind of fleshed out is Lucy Liu's character, right? Oranishi, right? We actually have a backstory on her and why she is the way she is. now. But but we'll get to that stuff later on in terms of how this actually story, how these two movies, Volume One and Volume Two, are different in terms of style and I think Quentin Tarantino's intent. But you had a lot of really really memorable characters here, right? I mean, we were first introduced to the bride, right? We didn't know her name was Beatrix Kiddo. Uh, in this movie, but that comes out later, right? Of course, you have Oran Ishii, Johnny Moe, the leader of the Crazy 88s. Yeah, it's too bad my Funkos are packed right now because I have the Kill Bill Funkos, and you also have Gogo, right? The psychotic teenage serial killer. Vernita Green. What was her name, like Copperhead? It was something like that, right? Remember the whole the assassins all had like code names. I think she was
Right.
Copperhead.
I think she might have been Copperhead.
Yeah, and so yeah, Hattori Hanzo. You were talking about Sunny Chiba. That's Hattori Hanzo, right? Sophie Fatale. She gets her, no spoilers, but she gets her arm cut off. But you have all these crazy stuff. You also have Charlie Brown, right? He made an appearance, right? It was the owner of the sushi of the restaurant, right? He wore that same shirt as Charlie Brown, and they were just making fun of him. That was freaking awesome. But this is the funniest stuff. I mean, this has to be like the best named vehicle in cinematic history, right? Pussy Wagon. What other name beats this name for a car in cinematic history? Right, so
I was thinking the Batmobile possibly, but no.
no,
Hey,
it's Pussy Wagon.
right.
Yeah, and
Mates.
yep, and yeah, Michael Madsen, as you were alluding to, does appear way at the end of this movie, right, with the line, "No, that woman deserves her revenge, and we deserve to die." So again, this is a great movie. It's mindless entertainment, okay, at its finest. Okay, if you don't care, if you're not in a mood for character development, like the classic way of watching a movie, where you get involved in the characters, you start really understanding them, then this is then this is it. I mean, this is a great movie for that. And if you like just basically fighting and swordplay and limbs just flying all over the place, what do you think? Okay,
No,
and
absolutely great choice here, Mel. And we talked a little bit earlier about like how his films there's usually something that's really just some personal issue with something going on, right? That might be just between that could be just happen to somebody like us, right? I mean, just everyday people, right? But now it's just masked with all this extravagant violence and action and that's pretty much what Volume One is. There's
yeah,
more of that mask of action and violence and things of that nature, as opposed to in Volume Two where we get a little bit more personal, deeper
yep.
conflict, things of that nature. But this was Tarantino's first time really, showing off what he could possibly do in the action type of genre as well, and he did it beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, this was pure action and pure revenge, right? It's basically a revenge flick at its finest. So, yeah, so that's my honorable mention. So, I guess we're on to our formal top 5 list now, dog. You ready?
All right, yeah,
You
we're ready. We're
You
stoked.
ready? You ready, guys? Here it is. Dog's number 5.
And my
Favorite
number
character.
5 is,
Go ahead.
which might shock a few folks a lot. I think a lot of people, this might be one of their favorites still to this day, right? Is Reservoir Dogs. But all of my top 5, even my number 6, I love all these films. I could interchange at any moment a lot of times, right? But I've actually stayed pretty solid on my list for quite a while. Again, one of my finest memories is going into this little theater, that just like a little independent theater, and sitting down and watching this film. And it was the first time that I had ever walked out, and this was released on October 8th of 1992. It holds 91% on Rotten Tomatoes also, folks. And it was the first time I'd ever gone into a film and walked out just absolutely shaken, just by what I had witnessed on film. Right. I mean, just of course we saw the violence with the ear scene, of course, right? And then you can never hear Steelers Wheel stuck in the middle with you anytime. You can't listen to that without thinking of this film. If you see this film, every time you hear that song, you're always going to think of this scene. There was just little things like that, but I just remember just kind of being just shaken from watching the film because Tim Roth was absolutely amazing. Harvey Keitel is absolutely fantastic. Steve Buscemi's in this as well. The late Sean Penn's brother. What's Sean Penn's brother?
Chris Penn. Chris
Penn.
Yeah.
Forgive me, folks. Yeah, Chris Penn is absolutely outstanding in this as well. So, I mean, this is more. There is maybe a scene of action or two, right? But this is more drama, personal, and just watching these actors, at their best, really, right? This was his first directing debut. Again, the ear scene, of course, with the captured police officer is rough to watch, but some of the roughest stuff is watching Tim Roth just in agonizing pain and dying, right, at the same time trying to bring some sort of justice to what's about to happen here, right? So absolutely outstanding film, one of my all-time favorites. And just I'll never forget again, that the first time I saw a Quentin Tarantino film was this one.
Yeah, I mean, great choice, Dawg. And I think you forgot to mention Lawrence Turney, right? The guy that looks like the Thing, right? The crime boss. He looks like the Thing, man, from the Fantastic Four, doesn't he? So anyway, yeah, I mean, a great choice. I mean, I'll tell you a little Milt story back in college, right? So when I first went to University of Texas, the real UT, Bubba Husky. They have this theater on campus, right? It's like one of the older buildings that nobody knows about, but they actually have a theater in there, movie theater, and they showed 2 movies all the time in this theater. Okay, one was the original Point Break, right, with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. That's an awesome movie, with the dead presidents or whatever they're called, right? Or, with the presidents, robbery gang. And then the other movie was this movie, Reservoir Dogs. Okay, so really, really good stuff, And I mean, I love this movie. I mean, I didn't realize it was his first movie actually that he's actually directed and wrote. So it's a great debut, And I'll always remember that, the scene with Mr. Blonde and the policeman, right? And and after Mr. Orange, the Tim Roth character, basically shoots down Mr. Blonde. Sorry for the spoilers, but this is over 25 years old now. This movie, he goes. And then he tried to justify his actions with saying he was gonna pull a burn, right? And then Chris Penn just goes and shoots the cop anyway for the hell of it. I thought that was great. So, great movie, great characters, and I mean, Quentin Tarantino was in it, right? Mr. Brown, the driver with the bullet in his head.
Right. Yeah. In the beginning, remember they have the scene where, and this is where we get a nice taste of what's to come. Because most of his movies, there's always some scenes about just everyday life or little things that bug people or something like that, right? Or just we get some little mundane information about something, right? But we have a situation where this guy he's talking about dirty films or whatever, right, for a bit, right? And this actress and all that stuff, right? And these guys are having this conversation, and then they start talking about, hey, who didn't tip here, right? I mean, these guys are like evil gangster people, right?
Yeah.
But they still have a code and they have morals and things of that nature, right? And then, Joe's not going to put up with that, right? Who didn't tip here, right? And then Steve Buscemi's, he's got to come up with, Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink.
He's got to explain why he doesn't tip and why he doesn't believe in it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just little scenes like that to just make his films just so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
So it was a taste of what was to come.
Hey, and why am I Mr. Pink? Oh, because everybody wants to be Mr. Black. So anyway, you're Mr. Pink. So anyway, that was awesome. So okay, you have five guys that were like colors, and then you have Michael Madsen character who was like a Mr. Blonde. I mean, blonde is a color, right? It's sort of like an off-white. I thought that was interesting because he's also the most different than everybody else too. So, Mr. White, Mr. Brown, Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink, and Mr. Blue that you only saw in one scene, right, in a diner scene. And that was Mr. Blue,
Yeah,
and then yep, and then Mr. Blonde. So yeah, yeah, this is a great movie. So I guess we should go into my number five now, and my number five is The Hateful Eight. Okay, I gotta put it in there. Okay, it was like his most recent movie before 2 weeks ago, and great movie. Actually won an Oscar for best original score by Ennio Morricone. And this guy is a legend in terms of Western scores. He also scored all the spaghetti Western movies from Sergio Leone. So The Good, Bad, and the Movie. No, sorry, The Good, Bad, and Ugly. A Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More. All that music, that classic music. Ennio Morricone actually scored those as well. So, he really deserved it because this movie was, to me, the music and the cinematography was probably the best that Quentin Tarantino has done. Okay, it's probably his only Western movie, his true Western movie, if you will, right? I'm not talking about like samurai westerns like Kill Bill, but an actual Western movie. And you have the same kind of stuff, right? You also have some over the top violence as usual, right? But it reminded me of like that board game we used to play when we were kids, right? Clue. Essentially, yeah, all these guys stuck in a snowbound house together and trying to figure out who a murderer is, and but great cinematography also, right? I mean Quentin Tarantino is not known for his cinematography, but all those views, those scenic views of the train, going through the mountains and stuff like that, and how the camera is just basically flowing, during these views, and actually how the camera's actually kind of, the camera work inside the house itself is really, really good. And Clue, it kind of reminded me of 12 Angry Men. Also, I'm not sure if you've seen that movie. And also the Thing, right? With Kurt Russell, ironically. Kurt Russell's in there as well. The Thing, right? Because it's all about who's the monster, right? And tight narrative, it's really tight story. I mean, it's simple, okay? It's a pretty simple story, but it works. And to me, it's probably Samuel L. Jackson's best role because he's pretty much the star in the movie. And soundtrack is great as usual. And then you also had all these characters, right? Major Marquise Warren, John Ruth, Kurt Russell, right? I mean, he's a veteran of Quentin Tarantino movies. Daisy Domergue.
Daisy Domergue.
Domergue, yeah, and her brother Jody, played by the immortal Channing Tatum. Senor Bob, Sheriff Chris Mannix, right? Joe Gage. I mean, think of these names; they're awesome. General Sandy Smithers, played by Bruce Dern, man. Think about Bruce Dern appeared in a Quentin Tarantino movie. And yeah, and you can go on and on and on here, but good stuff. And yeah, I mean, I forgot Tim Roth too as Oswaldo Mowbray.
Waldo Mowbray.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is that I have the Hateful Eight Funko Pops, and for some reason they didn't do one for Oswaldo. They did it for John Ruth, Major Marquise Warren, Chris Mannix, Daisy Domergue, and but no Oswaldo. So what's up with that, people? So yeah, I love this movie. Good stuff. It's over the top violence. There's more character development in my opinion than Kill Bill Volume One. So, but but what puts this above Kill Bill Volume One and B again is really the cinematography. I think is really great in this movie, and it's different than other Tarantino movies because of the cinematography and the score.
Absolutely. He brought back like one of my favorite films of all time, might be actually my favorite film of all time, is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And hearing that and that um Ennio Morricone score right in the beginning, it brings you back to the score from the films that you'd seen long ago,
Yeah.
the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns.
Yep.
And but at the same time, there's those strings in it that just really bring home the fact that there is going to be some sinister stuff that's about to develop, right? And you're into it's like a beautiful, uh,
Yeah.
you know, it's just a beautiful piece from Marconi, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, he's kind of, it feels like you're almost listening to Psycho, from Alfred Hitchcock a little bit. It's like, add a little bit of Psycho into, some of this beautiful, epicness,
Yep.
and make those strings really drive it home that there's going to be something sinister happening here. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
just perfect. Right. And then I think Tarantino even does a little bit of the score himself, especially at the end when it gets really uh,
Hmm.
hackish and stuff like that. But yeah, one of my all time favorite films, too.
Yeah.
And great choice here, Milt. Might talk about this one later, possibly as well. Uh, but yeah, just the characters and how you mentioned, I can't believe that Oswaldo Mulberry
Yeah.
did not get a Funko. That's kind of disturbing there
I
because
can't believe it either, man.
all the actors in this, all the characters are just perfect. They fill their roles absolutely perfect, and there's so much character development, just like you said, in pretty much all of them by the end of it. So yeah, fantastic film.
Yeah, it's great. I love this movie. I mean, maybe not as much as you, but shit, I might have given out a hint there. But still, yeah. I mean, it's a great. It's different, right? What I like about this movie is that it's different than any of the other Quentin Tarantino movies because I think it does, focus a little bit more on cinematography, which was kind of refreshing when I first saw it. And but then again, you have all these other, typical, Quentin Tarantino kind of moments in this movie as well, which makes it, special in that sense and recognizable in that sense. So awesome, man. So let's go into number 4 for Dog. Take it away.
All right, folks. Yep, and my number 4 here is Kill Bill Volume One, and yeah, I this one used to be a little bit higher on my list until maybe some other films had come out afterward and things of that nature. But I didn't know if I was going to actually like this film when I first was getting into it because I was like, what? Quentin Tarantino's doing a karate film kind of thing, or I didn't know what I was even walking into really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but by the time I'd watched it, I was just absolutely in love with it. And but like I think after yeah, it's not as high. I'll get to why it's not as high on my list later,
Mm-hmm.
but um, this is like a perfect example of what I meant before, where there's like just a personal conflict going on, right? There's basically a domestic dispute that's happening here, right? It's just like like if domestic violence went absolutely outlandishly crazy with some karate, kung fu masters and assassins, right, and ninjas and things of that nature. What if we added all of this stuff to just elaborate the complete craziness? If daily things that happen around our communities and things of that nature, right? Just little things in the home or whatever that might seem so that aren't they're not little. I'm not belittling them by any means, but what if those kind of things happen to folks like this with kung fu, that know kung fu and are trained by the ancients and things of that nature, right? So, but yeah, this was his first attempt at doing like pretty much an action film. I guess if we wanted to say what's if we want to, put this in a genre, I'd say this would be an action movie, I guess, right? It's not. I wouldn't say it's sci-fi, but I'd say this would be an action film, and
Revenge movie, pure and
right,
simple.
and it's perfectly done. Right, when we
Yeah.
talked about it earlier, just the little details with the fight scenes, right, where he could just show like three quick moves, and then flip to the next scene, or flip to the next shot and get the next three shots in, and then all of a sudden you just have like a floor of bodies all over where, and you just saw all the blood and gore and all this stuff happening, and it's just it's over the top, but it's fun, right? We get to see Sonny Chiba, uh, also, and my favorite part of the film is like the Charlie Brown scene.
Yeah.
You mentioned Charlie Brown. They're like, "Hey, you look like Charlie Brown."
Yep.
Right? And then all of a sudden you hear Beatrix going, "Oranishi," and then in Japanese she's like, "We have unfinished business." And then he throws in the music from Death Rides a Horse, right? So if you've ever seen the film Death Rides a Horse, I think the guy that played Angel Eyes is in it. I forgot his name though. Forgive me.
Oh yeah. Lee Van Cleef.
Yeah, Lee Van Cleef,
Yeah,
right?
Lee Van
Absolutely.
Cleef.
Good job, Mel. Yeah, he was in that, right? But you hear the music from Death Rides a Horse, and then she takes on the Crazy 88s, and just some of the most fun action, some of the most fun I've ever seen watching a film before. And then we have the showdown with Oranishi, of course, at the end.
Yeah.
And I think they timed it to where, because I think she said something to her about, hey, you're not even going to last 5 minutes if you mess up or something. And I think she takes the scalp of her head off
Yep.
at like 4:59 or something. So,
The only thing I remember was just the cherry blossoms falling. When it was nice scenery, right, for a fight. Cherry blossoms falling, snow falling. So
I think you were exactly right about it. I think there's more character development with Orenishi, especially when you get that great animated scene.
Yep.
As well. So I think we get a little bit more backstory on her than say Daryl Hannah's character, of course, right? But we're never going to forget her walking down that hallway and whistling, and who's going to forget Buck too, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, great stuff. It's number 4 in your list. It was honorable mention on my list, and I think a lot of it had to do because of to me, was the character development was lacking in this movie, right? I mean, this was pure unadulterated action and revenge. There wasn't. We didn't know anything about these characters until Volume 2 came into play, right? I mean, the only thing we knew about was just Oranishi for the most part. I mean,
We get to see,
yeah.
we got to see kind of the after effect, right?
Yeah.
She gets taken out, basically left for dead, right?
Yeah.
And then we see all the horrible things that have happened to her, throughout those years, right? With Buck and things of that nature, right? And now we just know that, we just saw the horrible things that just happened to her. We want revenge, right? I mean, this is just like you said before, this is an action revenge film, right? But we just want to see her, draw some blood, right?
Yeah.
And but yeah, we don't, until we get to Volume 2, that's when we get a little bit more personal and deeper into the story, right?
Yep.
So, but this scene, this film is pretty much, we see what Bill and his crew do.
Yep.
And then we just kind of hate Bill and their crew, and we're just kind of riding along with Beatrix on this revenge plot.
Yep. And I have to say this one more time, guys. Pussy wagon. So let me go to my number 4 here, and that was Dawg's number 4, Kill Bill. My number 4 is Kill Bill Volume 2. Again, so we're still on this Kill Bill kick, but this movie to me trumps Kill Bill Volume 1, even though for a lot of people it really doesn't, because they found it's kind of boring when it first came out. But it was only boring, relative to Volume 1, which is basically pure action, right? And there's nothing else but action in that movie. And this movie to me was a lot deeper, okay? It's definitely a lot deeper than any other for Quentin Tarantino movies in the sense that I think this probably has the most dialogue, if you will, of all the Quentin Tarantino movies. Okay, and then great acting, of course, right? Gordon. Gordon Chan right there playing Pai Mei. Come on, you can't. Pai Mei is in this. Okay, I mean this harkens back to 1970s, the Hong Kong kung fu movies here, right? David Carradine, we discussed earlier, Kwai Chang Caine from Kung Fu, right? He's in here. I mean, this great stuff like that. I mean, and then the rest of the main characters that you have from Volume One carried over here. Uh, you know, so, it's a slow burn, right? It's like an acquired taste. This movie, when you first see it, because this isn't your typical Quentin Tarantino movie in the sense that it doesn't have the over the topness as your usual Quentin Tarantino movie, right? It's a slow burn, but it does have but it probably does is the best combination of writing and action, I think. Still, if you think about it in those terms, if you want it writing and action, I mean, you really can't beat this movie in his filmography. Again, the whole idea behind Pai Mei, is basically an homage, right, to these 1970s Hong Kong kung fu movies, especially with David Carradine and Gordon, I think Gordon Wong, I think was his name. I forgot his name. It's Gordon something. I think it's Gordon Wong. But
I think you're right.
yeah, yeah. So I prefer this one again to Kobo one. And also the character development is back in play here, right? Because now it turns the bride and Bill into real characters. It turns Bud, right, into a real character. So, and not just like these revenge archetypes that we saw in Volume One. And so just like we were saying before, in terms of it being a metaphor, this whole series, the whole Kill Bill story is a metaphor of a domestic dispute, right? About a breakup, as you were mentioning earlier. And but I think this actually explains the breakup a lot more than Volume One did, right? Because and that's what made this movie to me better. So in terms of characters, again, you have the bride, yeah, Bill coming in, Eddie Driver's back, Pai Wei, the Yoda of Quentin Tarantino movies, Texas Ranger Earl McGraw, right? Don't forget him at the crime scene. Tommy Plimpton, poor guy. He didn't even have a honeymoon, right? He didn't have a wedding night with the bride. Rufus, right? Samuel Jackson, Rufus came in here. He played the organ player. So anyway, good stuff. I loved it. David Carradine with a flute, man. You can't beat that at all. So that's all I'm gonna say. So my number 4, Kill Bill Volume 2, Dawg.
Absolutely a great pick. Just real quickly, I forgot to mention before about Volume 1. That was at 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that was released on October 10th of 2003. And also, Uma Thurman was actually credited with the screenplay along with Quentin Tarantino for Volume 1. I'm not sure about Volume 2 though.
Yeah. Well, if it was Volume 1, I could see her. Because, I mean, that's probably like her first screenplay attempt, probably. Right?
Yeah, I think they were just kind of sitting around dinner, just kind of talking about, doing like a domestic violence type domestic dispute, but doing it with like assassins and things of that nature. But, they thought about, I think, like I mentioned before, I think he was thinking about Warren Beatty for it. And then when he kind of steered him over to David Carradine, and he was like, you know what, I should do it with, but let's do it with, ancient ninjas and samurai guys, and it'll be freaking amazing, right? We'll bring Sonny Chiba back, and it'll be just absolutely a blast.
Yeah, and I mean, what's cooler than Master Pai Wei? Like you see that in that gift over there, right? Just stroking his beard like that off to the side, off to his left. I mean, that's awesome. So.
Yeah, he was just like that. Absolutely, he was kind of like I guess he was a rougher version of Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah. Who would win the fight between him and Mr. Miyagi?
Yeah, yeah, they might be like, if there's
It's
like
tough,
like
man.
a multi-plane universe or something like that, right? Or
Yeah.
a multiverse. I
Yeah.
think they might be the same character, possibly. I think Pai Mei and Mr. Miyagi might possibly be the same.
You think Pai Mei is fast enough to take out one of Mr. Miyagi's eyes, like he did with Eddie Driver?
No, I don't think anybody can beat Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah. Anyway, if anything, Mr. Miyagi can probably take out one of his eyes, especially with a pair of chopsticks. So,
That's true. Yeah, a man who catch fly with chopstick can accomplish anything.
yep. So anyway, yep, man. There you have it. So, yep, movie about a breakup, and that's Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. But Volume 2 is my number 4 pick. So let's go into our top three now. Dog,
Yep, and yeah, my
take it
number
away.
3, folks, was actually Kill Bill Volume 2.
Yep.
And and again, the reason
Mhm.
with this one, I was mentioning why Volume 1 might be a little bit farther down, was because I like this film better, right? It's just
Yep.
I have a lot of fun. I watch both of them uh, um, still today. But yeah, this one is a hell of a lot more interpersonal and deeper with the characters, right? We get the great backstory with Pai Mei. We get to see how Beatrix Kiddo came to be the deadliest woman alive, basically, right? And she had been trained basically by Bill, and then Bill hands her over to Pai Mei, and we get the cruel tutelage of Pai Mei. Again, with these characters that we hated in Volume 1, now we feel some empathy towards Bud, right? Bud, there's shitty water on the floor, right? You got to go clean that up. Hey, when's Bud working? Oh,
Mhm.
not tonight. Bud's not working tonight, right?
Yeah.
Let's see, when's Bud on? Bud's on to nope, he's not on the next night, right? Man, he's got to
Yeah.
go. He's got the most scumbagish boss,
Yeah.
right? So possibly he's working at this absolute shithole,
Yep.
right?
Sure.
And
Remember that line where he talks to the rocker, talks to the other stripper, goes, "Sure, Rocket." That was her name, Rocket. Anyway, continue, dog.
and and all these folks that are just evil and just terrible, right? Even Elle Driver, I mean, she still has some sort of code to when she finds out about what possibly happened to Beatrix, right? That Bud
Yeah.
possibly took her out, right? And she's just like, out of all the things, out of all the, because she's a hell of an opponent, right? For
Yeah.
her to be
Exactly.
taken out by this dude,
By a
right?
drunk.
She just cannot abide by that, right? So there's those little things like that about the characters that just make them absolutely great too. And that's the Quentin Tarantino style, where he can just bring something that's totally outlandish, like we're in this world of assassins and kung fu and things of that nature, but we're still in our own world too, right? So it's kind of hard to explain that, but
Yeah.
they're fun. They're fun films to watch. It might not be for everyone because yeah, some of these things are violent and this one doesn't have the gore and violence as much, but you have to deal with things like being buried alive or something like that, right? A little bit more scary, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, the interpersonal stuff with this is absolutely amazing. The Sonny Chiba scene's perfect too, where we see that like Beatrix is like, look, you're gonna make me. I need you to make me the sword to get this guy. And she's and he's
Was that
like,
Kill Volume 1? I think
who's the
that's
name of this person? And he's like, it was one of your students,
yeah. Hmm.
right? And he's like, Bill. He writes Bill on the window, and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna make you the sword to destroy my best student ever, really, because it's so interpersonal and the code, if you will, right? There's still
Hmm.
that code of honor.
Sure. And hey, left center picture, man. What movie does that left center picture in your screen remind you of?
That yeah, it reminds you of Karate Kid, doesn't
Karate,
it?
exactly. It's Karate Kid, man. And that's the great thing
Right.
about Quentin Tarantino is that he pulls in references from pop culture, like random stuff, like the Karate Kid, right, in his movies. And that's a perfect example, man. I mean, instead of Daniel LaRusso and Mr. Miyagi, you have the Bride and Pai Mei going after each other. So it's great.
Yeah, being gut
Yeah,
shot with rock salt's pretty violent,
it
also.
is.
And
Yeah.
then we get to see David Carradine really at his best. I mean, the monologue he gives about Superman and Clark Kent,
Yep.
that's awesome
Yep.
too. Man. It's some fun.
Yep.
He makes the dialogue fun. That's
Oh
what's
yeah.
great. He's a filmmaker, right? I mean,
Hmm.
he's just a classic filmmaker. In our time.
Yeah.
So
Great movie. Great movie. So we were back to
I think,
back here.
yeah, real quickly, Milt.
Hmm.
Yeah, 84% on Rotten Tomatoes for Kill Bill Volume 2. And this one was released on April 16th of 2004.
Hmm. And yeah, so yeah, we went back to back here. It was my number 4 and your number 3. My number 3. Get ready for some Southern drama. Yep, my number 3 is Django Unchained from 2012. Okay, and it won a couple of Academy Awards. Okay, Best Original Screenplay by Quentin Tarantino. That was the second Academy Award, and also Best Supporting Actor. Again, with Christoph Waltz, if you will, Christopher Waltz, if you will. So as King Schultz, but great movie. Okay, now I'm gonna get really serious here. Okay, it's probably his most controversial movie that he's ever made. Okay, because of the racial overtones and the portrayals of African Americans in slavery. Right. I mean, that's why I'm calling it kind of a southern drama instead of like a western in that sense here. But any film with a Jim Croce song in there automatically belongs in your top 5. Okay, if Jim Croce is in your film, future directors out there, you would get a top 5 on the Westerosi Ninja channel. Okay, and that was perfectly placed. And that song, I Got a Name. Check it out. Okay, check out the MP3. Check out the YouTube song, I Got a Name. Okay, from Jim Croce. Was perfectly placed in this movie. But but anyway, it's the movie itself, though. Despite of its controversy, right? If it features a more streamlined plot, okay, than most of the other Quentin Tarantino movies. The characters, okay, there's multiple characters here, but they have very clear progressions, okay, in their development, okay, in their storylines. Okay, so very streamlined. The characters have very clear progressions, so it makes an easy film to watch in that sense. Okay, right? I mean, it's your typical Hollywood storytelling, right? You got the meeting of the protagonists, right? And then you got the plans, you got the training, right? You got the masquerade, right? And then at the end you get your revenge, right? That's kind of like your typical action movie, if you will, in Hollywood. But it's I love the movie, okay, because I think it was really great acting, and the characters themselves were pretty compelling, right? You had your Django Freeman, you had Dr. King Schultz. I mean, Christopher Waltz is awesome, guys. I mean, he's such a great actor. First Leonardo DiCaprio appearance in the Quentin Tarantino movie. That's right, as Calvin J. Candy. Gentlemen, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention, right? That's awesome. No, Broomhilda von Shaft. Imagine a slave girl being called that, right? That's what you have here. Big Daddy Bennett. Remember Big Daddy Bennett? He was portrayed by Don Johnson of Miami Vice fame, guys. Don Johnson made made an appearance in the Quentin Tarantino movie of all people, right? U.S. Marshal Gil Tatum. Remember who he was? He was Luke from Dukes of Hazzard. Tom Wopat. Okay, who remembers Duke of Hazzard? I mean,
Duke,
yep.
Luke and
Yeah,
Bo.
Luke Duke, right? Luke and Bo. You got it. So yeah, all these great stuff here, and again, very controversial film. I think it was actually boycotted, by some groups because it was people don't want to see this kind of stuff, these days in Hollywood. But it was very risky, and that's what I enjoyed about Quentin Tarantino. I think he was at a point in his career that he can actually, when he filmed this movie, he can actually afford to take some risks, and this was the result of it, and it was a great result. So very powerful film, but very very entertaining, and I love the movie. I thought it was great. I mean, just for everything everything about it, for a southern Quentin Tarantino movie, set in the 1800s, this is awesome.
Absolutely fantastic pick here, Milt. Yeah, this is another film where, I think I've mentioned before where, one of the things I judge as far as like, hey, do I like this film or not? Right. Well,
Hmm.
could I rewatch it again? And this is a film that I rewatched, over and over and over. It's just, most of his films are like that. That's what I love about this director is
Hmm.
like and just as you said, this one's a little bit more mainstream line, right? We kind of know
Yeah.
where he's going from point A. We want
Yep.
to know he wants to get to point B basically, and there's not really a whole lot of a lot of crazy antics kind of going in between. Maybe a little bit here and there,
Yeah.
but then the little subtleties of kind of how we talked before, where it might be kind of like this craziness kind of going on, but little details with these characters, like how he's kind of teaching Django, right?
Hmm.
And even like when they're waiting for the marshal, get the marshal, not the sheriff, right?
Yeah.
Just the way he's acting during that whole where Django. If I was Django, I'd be freaking out, man. I'm
Yeah.
kind of a runaway, sort of, right? And I don't know who this guy is right now. He just killed this guy. That's the sheriff out here, and then he's like, get the marshal now. But even all during that, he's getting the beers ready, and
Hmm.
he still has manners to. Hey Django, don't put your hat on the table, right? So he's
Hmm.
teaching him about things like that. It was just like little things like that. That scene's absolutely fantastic. The Gil Tatum scene,
Yeah.
and
It was
another
awesome.
another example where yeah, he brings Don Johnson in,
Yep.
right? From Miami Vice, and
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
he was
it's like freaking
outstanding
out of the
too.
blue, dog. I mean, Don freaking Johnson from Miami Vice appears, in a Quentin Tarantino movie. I mean, that's like so out of the blue, isn't it?
Yeah, and then the Jonah Hill scene
Yeah.
with the mask, there's somebody or the bags, right?
Yeah.
I can't see out of this thing. Yeah,
And
they're essentially poking fun of
yeah.
the renegades, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah, and also forgot about like Samuel Jackson, right? As Steven,
Oh
right?
yeah,
As the
oh
mastermind, he was the mastermind behind the whole thing.
yeah, right.
And then Biddy Crash, right? What kind of name is that? Biddy Crash. Play, otherwise known as,
I think
Sheriff Chris Mannix.
I think maybe. Well, I mean, other than like, yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he was awesome again. But
Yeah.
DiCaprio was awesome and everything. But
Yeah.
this is like I would say definitely in his top three performances. Because man, I hated this character. Like I hated this character so much.
Yeah.
He was like I think he's probably my most hated villain out of all the Tarantino films. I think Calvin Candy's my most hated.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but he did it so well though,
Yeah,
right?
right. I mean,
Yeah.
you absolutely love to hate this guy,
Yeah, he
right?
did so well,
I
but
would have to say, and yeah, Tarantino's had some pretty nasty people that you've hated, right? But yeah, I would
yeah.
say Calvin Candy's probably my number one hated villain.
He's probably my number two or three. I hate a couple other guys
Oh
more than
yeah,
he
and then
does.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's another one too, of course. But
yeah, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely deserving of his awards, and and I think the fact that that this is what came out of Quentin Tarantino tackling such a sensitive subject, right? You know, like the 1800s, and the African Americans and slavery. It's you know, and this is what came out. I think it was great. He did a really really good job here. In his own style, he did tackle these very controversial subjects in a way that it was still
fairy tale.
enjoyable. It was enjoyable, and it wasn't like self-righteous, and it wasn't like it didn't have a message about, oh no, it didn't have this overbearing message that yeah, it was bad, back then, right? You got, everybody, you guys are evil, people are evil back then, everybody's evil, there was no message like that, overbearing message like that. It was still, I mean, he didn't sell out. Okay, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. He didn't sell out to the Hollywood social justice warriors in this movie like he could have.
No, no, definitely did not do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But I was trying to think of when we were trying to, we were talking about, is
yeah,
this like a drama, action,
yeah,
western? But yeah, it really is a fairy tale. When I think about it, it
yeah,
really is a fairy tale of,
yeah,
the knight going for Hilda, right? It's
yeah,
that simple plot. It is
yeah.
a simple A to B.
Yeah.
but just fantastically acted, well crafted, casted, all that stuff. Awesome film.
Yep. Yeah, and people are ragging on me for calling it a Southern drum. So, all right. Anyway, there, Dog agrees with me, guys. So man. So anyway, let's go into Dog's number 2 here and take it
Oh,
away.
we're on number two. Oh my goodness, folks, and
Yeah.
I absolutely love this film, and right now I wouldn't be surprised someday it might actually possibly it's like 1A right now. It's so close. I love this film so much. Like we were talking about doing a top 5 characters of all time for Quentin Tarantino films, and I was mentioning back to Milt. I said, I want to put all 8 of the Hateful Eight on my list. Just because all the roles are perfectly crafted by these actors, right? As far as like the casting was perfect, and all the role players, just like on a basketball team, right? These guys won the NBA championship, basically, right? They had the main player, Samuel L. Jackson, right? His number 2 being Kurt Russell, and all the other role players just did absolutely amazing, perfect jobs, and they win, right? So I think, and I'll still stand firm on it to this day. This is Samuel L. Jackson's best performance ever. Again, I love the style, just the good, the bad, and the ugly style of the way it's shot. Cinematography is beautiful. The music, again, the score is so well crafted. Jennifer Jason Leigh is outstanding, of course, too. And there's also that scene in there where Kurt Russell ends up destroying that old guitar that was an antique, and it was the actual guitar, and you actually get to see Jennifer Jason Leigh's reaction in the film, where she's just like, "Whoa, stop!" She was like actually looking at, I think she was looking at Tarantino or somebody else, like, they were supposed to switch the guitars out, but yeah, they smashed like a old 1800s guitar just in the schmithereens. And so yeah, that company is never going to work with them ever again. That's what's happening with that.
Wow, man, that's crazy to do that by
But I
mistake.
absolutely love the. Yeah, I think this film has probably my favorite characters. If I just per capita, I mean, just like all of them just work so well together. The carriage scene's perfect with Walt Goggins as Chris Mannix, and just the tension that's happening where John Ruth doesn't know if he can trust Major Marcus, and or if he can trust Mannix, right? He's got Domergue with him, who's actually Domingray, which I found kind of funny, right? Because so you guys couldn't put 2 and 2 together before, right? Because he knew about all the bounties on those people, but he couldn't think of the one on Daisy by the end of it. But yeah, even OB, the driver, and
Good
Bob's
old
great.
OB. Senor
The
Bob.
scene when they're eating the stew at dinner time, and they're going over the letter,
Yeah.
right? And Chris Mannix is just questioning Major Marcus the whole time. You really got a letter from Abraham Lincoln? Yes. He's like, from the president of the United States? And he's like, yes, of America? And I mean, he's just totally just jabbing into him. Yes. Yep. Well, that would make you pen pals. And that would almost make you practically friends. And then all of a sudden he just starts busting up laughing, right? I mean, it's just so great because what you see, the mass of the characters when you first are introduced to some of these characters aren't really who they are, right? And down when we first meet Mannix, right, we just think he's a simpleton kind of, right? He's just gonna follow orders from, and he just has total respect for the Confederate leaders above him, and he just goes for the cause, right? But we don't realize he's really pretty smart. He's pretty intelligent, right? He's pretty street smart compared to what you would actually think, right? And whereas John Ruth, he's pretty much, he's kind of the symbolism to the law, the letter of the law. We're going to bring her in the hang. And then at the same time, we have Samuel L. Jackson, I'm sorry, Major Warren,
Yep.
dealing with his
Marquise.
situation too when he meets General Sandy Don't Give a Damn Smithers, right? So, and it's just those little crazy things that like, because this film is more like if you folks like films like say like 12 Angry Men
Mhm.
or like Glengarry Glen Ross, something like that, we're pretty much in one room for most
Yeah.
of it, right? I mean,
Mhm.
we do move around a little bit, but it's kind of got that feel of like 12 Angry Men
Yep.
or
That's what I'm saying.
Glengarry Glen Ross a little bit too.
Yep.
But yeah, just absolutely one of my favorites there. Bruce Dern's amazing too. I mean, they pull those characters off so well, and it's just like it's like okay, we already have this crazy situation. We have this scene with the door, right, where they have to get two pieces of wood on it. But long story short, just like Samuel L. Jackson walks in and all of a sudden he just sees, oh, you got to be freaking kidding me. I've got this general right here. He's already planning on taking him out. Now
Mhm.
it's just a matter of how, right?
Mhm.
And then the backstory that goes along with that,
Yeah.
what he did to his son and all that stuff.
It was just funny
As
as
you can
hell.
see, I'm getting pictures in your head, ain't you?
Yeah.
Right. So, and then the laugh, just the laugh he was doing the whole time, just
Yeah.
absolutely perfect. So, uh, yeah, I could ramble about this all
Oswaldo
night.
Mowbray. That's all I can say. It's all about Oswaldo Mowbray.
Oswaldo Mowbray, La Ti
Yeah.
Da. I
Great.
mean,
Yeah,
and
but
nobody says La Ti Da better than Kurt Russell. I mean, Kurt Russell is just the absolute perfect role player in this. Um, I mean, I can't. He's had some awesome casting before, but
yeah.
this is one of his best too. I mean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's amazing casting too, but this is perfectly casted, folks. If
Yep.
you haven't seen The Hateful Eight, I recommend it, especially if you like old westerns and the old Sergio Leone film
Yeah,
with
the
the twist,
score.
the Quentin Tarantino twist,
Yep.
and the 12 Angry Men feel I think.
Yeah, no, as I was saying earlier, right? I mean, this to me is a combination of 12 Angry Men, Clue, and The Thing. Put them
Right?
all together.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
thing in
Kurt
there
Russell
too.
wasn't a thing, right? As I was saying. So yeah, you got The Thing in there too because there is a hidden villain in there. You don't know who it is, but there is a hidden villain in there. So yeah, great stuff. Yeah, I mean, great movie. And Kev, Bridge 4 said that a Hateful Eight and a Hateful Eight extended version is available now on Netflix. So I have to go check out the extended version
Go
to see
check
what that
that
is
out.
out. Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
this is.
Thanks a lot.
I was watching this the other night, and as
Hmm.
soon as I got done, I was like, "Man, I want to watch this damn thing again."
All
That's
right.
how much I love this film right now. It's just like I still love it.
Yep. And Funko, are you hearing me? Get an Oswaldo Mowbray Funko out there. I can't believe there isn't one out there right now. Number 2 on my list is, you got it, man, Inglorious Bastards. Okay, won an Academy Award, Best Supporting Actor, Christopher Waltz again, and this was such an awesome acting job by Christopher Waltz. I mean, you had, I love this movie so much, okay? Because you know, you know, earlier I said that Kill Bill Volume 2 had probably the most dialogue of any Quentin Tarantino movie. This movie probably had the best dialogue of all his movies. Okay, to me, it's a masterpiece. Okay, it. I think it tells you. Okay, I guess it gives you like this. It gives you this feeling that even though like Nazis hate Jews, right? The film it tells us to hate Nazis with just as much passion. Okay, which is hard to do. Okay, but just the way they're acting, especially Colonel Hans Landa. The movie itself is kind of weird. Okay, it's it it's basically a bunch of loosely related scenes. Okay, leading up to a climax, a common climax, okay, which is the film premiere, okay. So it's not like Pulp Fiction where things are like back and forth in time, right? This is more like just loose scenes just ending up in one spot at the end of the movie, and I kind of like that style. I'm partial to that style here. Uh, but it's also like a revenge flick as well, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the climatic scene, which is the film premiere, is is all about revenge. What happens when somebody's family gets murdered? So anyway, great characters. Okay, really great characters, really great casting. Right, Lieutenant Aldo Rain, played by Brad Pitt. Right, you got Shoshana. Who can forget Colonel Hans Landa, right? That's the Christoph Waltz character. I mean, there is no better villain, okay, in cinematic history than this guy. In fact, when Dawg and I did our best movie villains of all time, he was my number one, okay, Colonel Hans Landa. I mean, he did such a great job portraying this, evil sociopath, but who's also brilliant at the same time. Like, I mean, he's like Doctor Doom, if you think about it that way. I think of this quote. I mean, this quote is so awesome. Facts can be so misleading, whereas rumors, true or false, are often revealing. Isn't that cool? Anyway, the Bear Jew, right? Eli Roth. He was the director of Hostel and of a lot of other horror movies. Bridget Van Hammersmark. Okay, otherwise known as Diane Kruger. Okay, Major Hellstrom. Oh, this is such a freaking awesome scene, right? With Major Hellstrom, where they were basically sticking cards on top of their heads, on their foreheads, playing that German game, Husker Du. I mean, I really want to do that one day. Like in a live stream, play Husker Du with people. Just basically stick cards
a card on your head.
Yeah, stick a card on your forehead and try to guess who you are.
Oh yeah, and then we have the chat.
Yeah,
have the chat like ask you questions or how they do it.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that'd be an idea.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool, right? Hey, and who can forget Sergeant Hugo Stiglitz, right? The serial killer here, and then it goes on and on and on. The little man Marcel. Cameos by Winston Churchill, Adolf Hitler, Joseph Goebbels, right? People like that are all over the place. So Mike Myers was in here, right? I mean, he played some British general. So I just love this movie because it was such a good story and such good dialogue, and I'm a sucker for war movies. So and this is a really this is kind of a war movie with that Quentin Tarantino spin on it, right? But at the end of the day, just like all his other movies, it seems like it's about revenge at the end. So it's yeah, I love it, man. I can go on and on about this, but yeah, what can I say about Colonel Hans Landa? He's awesome.
I forgot. Yeah, I hated this guy just as much as I hated Calvin Candy, Mel.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, that's tough call for me with with either of those two right now. But yeah, I hated this dude throughout that whole entire film. Yeah, it was absolutely amazing performance. That first scene with him and the Frenchman, I think to me that's still the best scene in the whole film. To me it's even though the film's great all the way through, but that first scene with him, with the milk scene and all that, it's just, I think it's still my favorite scene of it. And then when you get to hear Brad Pitt, right, Aldo the Apache, anytime he's trying to pronounce something like I do and I mess up pronouncing stuff, but listening to him try to pronounce like Bridget von Hammersmart, or
or at the premiere, right? Goes buongiorno. That's all he said. Right. That's all he said was buongiorno. That's all he said. And then Hans Landa had like no clue what he's talking about. Like, I mean, Hans Landa was going, okay.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Buongiorno.
Yeah, just and then Christopher, Hans Landa there, he's just absolutely evil. Tough to watch some of the scenes, but absolutely well crafted, well acted, of course, and a lot of fun at times too. And this is another example where he brought somebody back that we hadn't seen in a long time. Hey, there's Mike Myers, right?
Yeah.
So, that's what I love about this director, because it looks like a lot of the actors have so much respect for him, and they just, look, he got Al Pacino last movie. I mean, before too. So it's like he gets big names, he gets little names, he gets medium names. But he gets them all to work together, just like a well-oiled machine. for lack of a better term there.
And the cool thing about his style and the way he cast like these big names is that, he casts these big names, but he doesn't make them like the main stars, right?
Right.
I mean, he gives these big name actors and actresses like bit parts, but they're very memorable bit parts, right? You always remember these things, and I guess that's his genius in writing these stories and casting, you know, certain actors and actresses in certain roles. I mean, it's genius the way he does it. And yeah, in this movie, he's great. Do you remember that final scene in the movie theater where they're just going off on they're just going off on Hitler with a machine gun? It was like gratuitous. It was like for a minute straight, just basically blasting him with machine gun fire.
He basically
Anyway,
just rewrote history the way he wanted it to end.
yeah,
The way he really wanted to see all those guys go out was the way he did it.
yeah,
How he really felt was kind of what he showed.
it was awesome. So anyway, yeah,
Just kind of
exactly.
vibe by that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean that was what he wanted to see, right? Yeah. I mean that final scene or that movie is like a metaphor for how he wanted it to end. You know, in his own how he wanted to end. Personally. So anyway, so great. So that's my number two, and we're down to our number one, guys.
Uh,
So
Real
what?
quickly, Mel,
Mm-hmm.
I forgot my little information on Hateful Eight before.
Mm-hmm.
74% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not one of the favorite Quentin Tarantino films from the populace, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it was released. The main thing I wanted to say was that it was released on December 25th of 2015, which now makes it my favorite Christmas film of all time. So my favorite Christmas film of all time, folks, in case you were wondering, is The Hateful Eight.
Nice. And what says Christmas more than basically eight people hating on each other inside a snowbound hotel slash grocery store? So, what was the Rotten Tomato score for this guy, Inglorious Bastards? It has to be high.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's probably
Yeah.
close to 90.
Yeah. So, cool. So we're down to our number ones, okay? And I got a really weird feeling that our number ones are going to be the same, but we're going to start with Dog. Number
think-
one, favorite Quentin Tarantino film
Say
is.
what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, mother. Oh,
What ain't no country I ever heard of? Do you speak English and what?
brains on Brad. Miss
Man.
Neil Wallace.
Man, I shot Marvin in the face.
Oh, shot Marvin in the face.
What else, guys?
Man,
go.
he had lava or something.
It has to be Pulp Fiction.
Wash him. Man, Jimmy. He sprung out the gourmet shit on us. I'd have just gone for some regular old taste of choice, but then you go spring out the gourmet shit. But yeah, this is my favorite one, right? I mean, you got Christopher Walken in this film, right? And
Yeah.
I put him on my board, probably one of the most important scenes in the film, the gold watch, right? So another prime example of big star, right? Small role, plays it perfect, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is Quentin Tarantino's I would say his second film.
This was his third film. Second film he directed. Third film that he wrote.
Right. So September 23rd of 1994, folks. This holds a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. And this is where we got to see John Travolta come back. And he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor that year. I actually thought he should have won it, but there was some really tough competition he had. I want to say maybe Tommy Lee Jones won for The Fugitive maybe that year. I can't remember if The Fugitive was 1994 or not, but
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah, but
Tommy Lee Jones's year.
uh-huh.
We had Winston Wolfe, right? I
Oh,
saw
of course.
right. So
You
if I'm you gentlemen, it's because I don't have time right now. So pretty pleased with Sugar on top. Clean the effing car.
are you an Oak man, Dog?
Oak is nice.
Yeah, Oak's nice.
So and yeah, the wallet scene, right? With Ringo. which wallet's yours, right? The one that says "bad mother effer" on it, right? I mean, it's just little things, little subtleties, little details like that that make him perfect,
You
right?
ever read the Bible, Brett?
I mean, the first scene there, we get to hear, we're hearing the music, right? But we're just thinking it's just the music for the credits. But all of a sudden, you kind of hear the radio kind of spin, and it's like, oh, we're driving along with Jules and Vincent, and now we're going to talk about the differences between France and Holland, and the little differences between America and the rest of the world, right? So, what folks do with their French fries, in Europe as opposed to what they do with them over here, right? Those are important details to this film, right? How a pilot, how a TV program's made, pilots and things of that nature. We're going to learn about the metric system and about that new Hawaiian burger joint. I heard they got some tasty burgers, right? So Big Kahuna Burger. And I mean, they're just, but at the same time, we're dealing with some probably pretty evil people here, pretty ruthless. I wouldn't say necessarily evil, but ruthless. But at the same time, he brings you into these characters that are ruthless, evil, even borderline evil, and you at times empathize with them, right? And or you just kind of feel with them. You want to be with these characters for more, right? You want to be with Jules and Vincent for more, right? After they've just experienced this divine intervention, right? Things of that nature, right? And we get to hear about what Jules wants to do at the end, how he just wants to walk the earth like Cain in Kung Fu.
Yep, another reference to David Carradine. Yep.
Little foreshadowing details like that, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, and then the Bruce Willis coming back also, and he was still a big star at the time, but he just kind of he plays just a role in this, right? He's not like he's not the main star, I wouldn't say, right? I would give that probably more to John Travolta, I guess, or maybe even Jules. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I would say probably the most watched of the Tarantino films I've ever, that I've seen. I would say I'd watch this film more than any of them, right?
Oh,
I know about Monster Joe's Truck and Tow.
Yep.
And
you sending in the wolf? That's all you had to say.
All you had to say.
And yeah, great choice, dog. And my number one is, guess what? Same thing, Pulp Fiction. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration, dog? Well, allow me to retort. Sorry, I mean, I can just go on these quotes. Hey, if my answers frighten you, then you should stop. Then you should cease asking scary questions. Yeah, but yeah, Pulp Fiction, man. This is a classic film, a cultural icon, if you will. I mean, it's 1994, right? Quentin Tarantino won his first Academy Award here, right? Best Original Screenplay. So, so you already knew that after this, I mean, he's like this awesome, excellent writer, and I think of the characters, man. Think of the characters in this movie and how memorable they are, right? Jules Winfield, Vincent Vega, right? Marcellus Wallace.
Butch.
Is he a bitch, Brett? Is he a bitch? Okay, Mia Wallace, Butch Coolidge, right? Esmeralda, who can forget Esmeralda, right? The psycho taxi driver, the Gimp.
Hector Killyman. What are you, weirdo?
Captain Coons, played by the immortal Christopher Walken. I wore that watch up mine. So anyway, Zed and Maynard, right? Who can forget that couple? The Wolf and the Honey Bunny and Pumpkin, right? We keep on forgetting about the Honey Bunny and Pumpkin scene, right? That basically bookend the movie here. And Jimmy Dimmick, right? Played by Quentin Tarantino himself. Don't tell me how good my coffee is. I know how good it is. My wife buys. Anyway, Lance and Jody, right? You take the shot. No, I'll take the shot. No, you take the shot.
Little medical book. Little medical book.
And this is Choco from what country was Choco from? The madman, heroine. It's like Guatemala or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. This is Choco from Guatemala, and this is Madman. This costs more, but trust me, it's worth it. So anyway, all this stuff, Uh, well, I mean, what can I say about this movie? It's great. I mean, it also has a really, really awesome soundtrack too, right? Dick Dale's in there, Al Green, Kool and the Gang, Ricky Nelson. I mean, Ricky Nelson's freaking awesome, but I mean, he makes an appearance here, in terms of the soundtrack. Dusty Springfield, and I don't know. To me, it's like the greatest story ever told. Okay, because it has so many memorable quotes whatsoever. I mean, this is like one of my favorite movie of all time, seriously. And I watch this thing like maybe 5 times a year at least. And it's the same thing as in Glorious Bastards, right? As I mentioned earlier, right? The narrative itself, right, is basically just involves a bunch of loosely related scenes, but this is different than Inglourious Basterds in the sense that this is all over the place in terms of the timelines, right? It's really mixed up, and so you have to like kind of concentrate in terms of that. But it leads to a conclusion, but the conclusion is actually at the middle of the movie, which was really cool, right? I mean, I think it's the first time that film mechanics has ever been done, right?
I can't. I couldn't
Yeah,
really recall where,
yeah,
like basically the middle of the film is actually,
the
where
conclusion.
we're gonna
Yeah,
roll credits, at that
yeah,
time. But
yeah,
just as you're saying,
yeah,
it's like they like all these different characters. They have some sort of wild background.
yeah.
Like with the extraordinary circumstances with the gold watch that Butch has to deal with, right?
Yeah.
And then Jules and everybody, there's a lot of crazy backgrounds a little bit, but all there's or not so much the backgrounds, but they all have some sort of crazy background or some crazy situation that happens to them, but eventually they're all going to intertwine and possibly meet at some point during the film, right?
Hmm.
Butch going through what he's going through with Marcellus, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, Vincent, right? He had the crazy stuff happening with his wife, and they end up meeting, and Butch ends up taking out John Travolta, of course, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, it's just kind of crazy. But we still feel for every single one of these characters at some point, right?
Hmm.
He always does that. He'll for every character he pretty much uses. There's some point where you might empathize with that character or feel immersed in with that character possibly.
Would you give a man a foot massage?
I don't be tickling enough.
Look, I'm getting a little bit pissed off here. It's awesome, man. It's
I don't be
great.
tickling or nothing.
What happened to my Honda? Oh, sorry, babe. I had to crash it. I had to crash it. Sorry.
Motorcycle's that. It's not a motorcycle, it's a chopper, baby. It's like, get
Sorry.
on. Will you get on? No, I have to explain first that this is a chopper before it's a motorcycle. It's like, will you get on?
Everyone stay cool. This is a robbery. Everyone stay cool. And there are some other ones out there that we can't say on air, but
Yeah, there's a lot of
it's
stuff we
just as funny.
can't share with this one. But yeah, and if if you haven't seen this film, it might not be for, if you don't like language and things of that nature, especially dealing with race and things of that nature, or just language or violence in general, it might not be for you.
Yeah. So anyway, that is our top 5 lists, guys. Thanks for coming out. But before we leave, we're gonna go ahead now and summarize our list. So, Dawg, tell me what you got.
All right. Yep. So, my honorable mention here tonight, folks, was True Romance, which was actually directed by Tony Scott, but Quentin Tarantino did the screenplay. Number 5, I had Reservoir Dogs. Number 4, I had Kill Bill Volume 1. My number 3 was Kill Bill Volume 2. And number 2, which actually is my 1A, I might say now, is The Hateful Eight. And but my number 1 still strong is Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. And for me, it Oops. I don't have it. Sorry about it, guys. I didn't put it on there, but I will tell you what I have. It basically my honorable mention was Kill Bill Volume One. My um, number five was
Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight. Thank you. My number four was Dawg. Kill Bill Volume
Kill
Two.
Bill.
Volume Two. My number three was Django Unchained. Number two was Inglourious Bastards. And my number one is also Pulp Fiction.
Roy
And
with cheese.
and that is it, guys, for tonight's show. So, Dawg, so here's a question for you. For people who haven't seen Quentin Tarantino movies out there, what would you recommend their first movie be to watch? If you had to pick one Quentin Tarantino film to introduce somebody to, what would it be?
You know what? I would introduce them to True Romance.
Interesting.
I would say, you know what? Even though this isn't directed by him, you're still gonna get that style of. There's gonna be a great cast, right? Pretty much every film, you're probably gonna know every single actor, or you've seen this actor, or something like that. There's gonna be some wild kind of story that goes with it, some edgy language, things of that nature, right? But I think you're gonna get a whole feel of how his films are gonna develop, and I think that's the perfect film to start with. Actually, I wouldn't start like I started with Reservoir Dogs, originally, but I would say maybe start with True Romance.
Okay, that's
If
good.
you can get through True Romance, I think you might be ready for Reservoir Dogs.
That's an interesting pick. Yeah, I would start them out with Pulp Fiction because I think if you want to get somebody hooked on Quentin Tarantino, that's a movie that you want to get them hooked on. It's Pulp Fiction, okay? Because
I just don't want to bring the gimp out on them that fast.
that's the only issue. It's like it's so
Right.
crazy, and the topics are just so controversial and so taboo in some cases that it may turn off some people. But but it's the first movie I saw, and those topics don't bother me. So after that, I was just like totally hooked. It's only because of the storytelling, or only because of the dialogue, only because of the crazy, circumstances and scenarios that Tarantino puts his characters in. It's just awesome. It's genius. I mean, some of the stuff is pretty heavy. I wouldn't want to start out a new person with like Django Unchained or Inglourious Bastards or like Jackie Brown or something like that. I think, that's a bit too much for a lot of people in terms of the subject material. Um, Hateful Eight wouldn't be that bad if it wasn't for like all that violence, at the end. And it wouldn't be that bad, right? Because I think Hateful Eight actually has some critics try to boycott it because of the way John Roof was slapping Daisy DeMarc around. I think that was an issue.
That too, and then
Yeah.
I think Django more so than this
Yeah.
language.
Yeah, the subject material of Django is just way too much for some people, I think. Yeah, but Pope I would do, but True Romance is a great pick. Also, Reservoir Dogs wouldn't be that bad either if you don't mind some blood.
Right, yeah, and
That might
then
be a
it's
good one,
that
too.
it's that ear scene that gets
Yeah.
me from going, maybe they're not. Let's see if that's why I was kind of thinking, maybe True Romance to start, and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, you might want to just go ahead and bring out the gimp right away.
Yeah, Kill Bill wouldn't be that bad, I guess. If you just didn't care about character development, if you were just in there like on like a Saturday afternoon, you were just bored as hell, and you just wanted some mindless entertainment, I would actually say, watch Kill Bill for mindless entertainment because that's pretty much one of the most mindless films that you can possibly, watch in your lifetime. It seems like, even though it's entertaining, it's really entertaining. It's pretty mindless, and it's just pure revenge. Okay, so Kill Bill Volume One and John Wick are essentially the same movie. Right? One has a lot better dialogue and swords than the other one.
Right.
Yeah. So.
I totally agree with that assessment.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, thanks a lot again for coming out here. Dawg, thank you for coming on with me tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. I had a blast. So
Yeah, to
yeah,
discuss this.
I'll sit here and ramble about Tarantino all night.
Yeah, it's great. And what's going on with you in terms of your channel? Anything interesting popping up?
I make videos sometimes, and I'm actually been talking. I actually see Linda in the chat right now. We were actually talking about possibly doing something possibly this Saturday, talking about some of our favorite films. But I'll be getting together with her soon, and hopefully I have something ready to go for us this weekend.
Oh, sounds like fun, man. I mean,
Definitely. So
yeah,
looking forward to that.
sure,
But yeah, in
definitely.
the meantime, I'll make some funny videos, I guess.
Hey, make sure they're not copyrighted, right? So anyway, and yeah, and anyway, you can check me on this channel. There's always gonna be something on. If it's not gonna be top fives with Dawg, I might do another wheel vid. I'm thinking about another concept for a wheel vid, and trying to get some other people on for like pick your favorite character up against a wheel.
I like the
Uh,
idea of playing that game
yeah.
with the card game.
Yeah. Playing Husker Du live might be an interesting thing, but in kind of a format where it's viewable on a YouTube is the tricky part. But I'll try to think of something, to make that thing work.
Oh yeah, After we get
Yeah,
off the stream, I got an idea.
yeah, and also remember every Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have trivia. And next week, I think it's Tiles. I think they're doing some Game of Thrones or no, Back to School or something like that. I think
I
some
think they're
topic.
doing something like head of the class or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Head of Class was a good TV show, right?
Yeah, I think it used to be a little game we used to have too, kind of
Yeah,
like life.
yeah. And anyway, that is all, guys. So again, thank you for coming out, and we will see y'all next time. Later.
I'm not going to stop the wheel. I'm going to break the wheel.
Ultra Ninja JK, dupla, jinxa, bota, chakra em cada linha de faca. Faz macramé no micado, paz, espadas por frases. Sintático, repara no que digo, é paradigmático, não tem paralelo, sou para lá de mágico. Sabes como rolo, martelo pneumático, técnica secreta do monstro roxo. Estamos a meter-nos no dojo, estamos a manter combos no jogo, só com uma espada nos tojos. Plano picado, não sabes de onde esta ave vem. Nenhum radar pode detectar onde está a nave, mãe, tu sabes bem. Somos a clique, somos o clã. É Monster Jinx cabrão, respeito ao vais comer tartan. Na terra do nunca não digo banzai. Vivo na espelunca e tenho um bonsai. Ninja que é ninja, ninja, frotas imperiais. E bate mal, logo bate mais. A minha crew não sem espelhos. Na rua, dragão azul, dragão vermelho. Sento o silêncio. Verso shinobi, nunca me canso, sou de Nairobi. Ágil como um ninja, rápido como um ninja, letal como um ninja, brutal como um ninja, fatal como um ninja, forte como um ninja, secreto como um ninja, devo mesmo ser um ninja.
Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus ninjas? Ninjas, 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 ninjas. Esta é para os meus ninjas, só para os meus ninjas. Onde é que estão os meus